Well, guys, this is going to be a pretty different episode.
I honestly don't even know what we're talking about this week.
Yeah, well, that's because we've already recorded most of the show.
Wait, you guys recorded without me?
No, I recorded without both of you.
Oh, at least not just me.
Yeah, and we'll get to the show after these ads, specifically chosen for you by Crickets Drinking Coffee in a miniaturized version of NASA's Mission Control while they plan out ways to take over the Earth. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was lit.
Yeah, I think the tech one was the one that was the most exciting to me. It just looked really cool with that. But anyway, welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation and that there is a story. It is written on our souls and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and all these other amazing franchises. We've never talked about Mortal Kombat.
Not.
We will a little bit today, but not because it's a major part of our show. But anyway, I'm David. I'm the dad. I'm joined by a couple of awesome sons. Nathan, how are you doing today?
I'm just still confused about what we're going to do this week for the show. A little weird.
That's all right. So you don't know what you're talking about today?
I have absolutely no idea.
That's awesome. What about you, Sam? How are you?
I haven't even had time to plan anything for this week.
Well, that's because we don't even have a place to live. We're technically still homeless.
Yeah.
With that. But fortunately, our friend Ricky Pope, yeah, from Christian Nerds Unite came to the rescue. He actually came to me and asked if I would be a part of his special May the 4th episode that will be premiering for May the 4th Be With You. And love to do that. And then so I asked him in return if he would send the file to us, and then we could record with that. And so we're going to do that. But before we do that, let's get everybody kind of caught up on what's going on in our lives.
Of course.
What have your lives been like over the last week or so?
Busy. I mean, we've had a lot of moving and a lot of just everything, but it's been fine.
Where have you been living, though?
Oh, in our grandparents' condo on Orange Beach.
Yeah, 8 people.
There's 7 of us.
7 people.
Except for Mima might have 2 personalities. We're not sure yet. So that could make it 8.
7.5.
Okay,
Yeah. It's tight.
Yeah, in about 1,000 square foot condo.
And a dog that just got surgery. So.
Yeah, he got his balls snipped.
Yeah.
And so that's been
fun.
Fun is a word that you could say there in place of other words, because we don't want to say bad words. No, I'm kidding. So let's just say I'm sleeping on an air mattress on the living room floor. So that'll be good. But I'm leaving tomorrow. I get to go on a trip and get on a jet plane. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. I'll be back on Tuesday evening. Hopefully we'll be closing on Friday, God willing. If you're a praying person, please pray that our mortgage company will actually approve the mortgage by Wednesday of next week. That'll be cool. Sam, you had a busy day today.
Yeah, so today was, for South, it was National Decision Day for college students who decided this is the college they're going to go to. And so we,
decide?
I did decide.
Okay,
so Savannah and I went up to South's campus and hung out there. They had a bunch of booths, talking about stuff, and they did a tour.
Just to be clear for all of you, if you're listening and you don't know what that is, the University of South Alabama, not just South's campus.
Yeah, sorry. So that was really neat, and I'm really excited to go there, and it seems like a great college, and
I'm sure it is.
I got all sorts of free stuff, which is always the best.
Yeah,
college students love free things.
Anything free, including top ramen.
Never had top ramen.
I know.
We should all try it. I haven't either.
It's one of the most unhealthy items that has ever been developed in a laboratory, and it's literally been developed. This top ramen has been developed in a laboratory. So anyway,
thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So you're more than welcome to eat all of it you want. BB Nate?
Yeah.
What did we do this afternoon?
We watched Superman and Lois first. That was fun. It was the first episode. And then we headed to the movies and watched Mortal Kombat. That was kind of an introduction to the Mortal Kombat universe for, I think, most of us. Maybe Dad played the arcade machine when he was
I played the arcade machine a lot when I was a kid.
So
how'd you get away with that?
I was in the arcade. Nobody knew what I was doing.
But yeah, it was my introduction. Sammy was, at the Students' Day thing.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to watch it, so we'll have to go back.
Watch it again, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually very good. I don't know.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was, I think it was intentionally campy at times.
I think so.
Right. It was like fan service.
Oh, there was serious fan service.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but it was definitely, it was fun to watch. It killed an afternoon. I got to have my Fanta Grape Zero, which that is the taste of going to the movies to me.
For me, now it's cherry Dr. Pepper.
And for me, it's a Bunch of Crunch. I don't know why. I just used to get that all the ways at the theater, so I got that today.
Movies are an experience for us.
And we're excited to be back in the theaters as much as possible going forward. Well, that was awesome. So, but here's what's really awesome is you get to experience a different version of Tatooine Sons this week, because instead of me talking with Sam and Nate and them even, interviewing each other and the three of us having a conversation, you're going to be a fly on the wall for an interview that I did with Ricky Pope from Christian Nerds Unite podcast. It's a great podcast where he talks about all things nerdom, sci-fi novels, Marvel, DC, Snyder Cut stuff, Star Wars. Really great guy. And we have really come to become very good friends with Ricky, and Ricky was actually on our show a few weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that. It was probably back at the beginning of the year. He was actually a guest on our show, and so you've heard him already, but this time it's going to be him interviewing us. So,
and by us we mean you.
By us we mean me.
Yes.
Because I really am all that matters when it comes to Tatooine Sons. Not really. Okay.
Tatooine in front of the Suns.
Kinda.
I'm a little confused, so we're just going to go ahead and let Ricky take over now.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Welcome to the show, David. I am so glad to have you here.
So glad to be here. Yeah, this is exciting.
I think this is the first time I've had you on my show. I've been on your show before, and I've been on shows with both of your sons independently. But I think this is the first time I've had you on my show. So it's great to have you here.
Yeah, what's that all about? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm excited. Yeah. Let's do it. So
awesome. So tell us who David Jesse is real quick.
David, married to Christy, 24 years in June. Father to Samuel, who's going to be 20 in a couple weeks, and Nathan, who's 15. My two sons and I host Tatooine Sons, SONS. It was a Star Wars podcast for about over 3 years. In the last couple of months, we've expanded to talk about all the other things that we end up talking about anyway. Most of the time on the show, we were still talking about them. WandaVision, Marvel stuff, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Not sure which one that is now. Zack Snyder's Justice League was a big one for Nathan. I know he's on with you on another show talking about that.
Yeah. He did great.
And he loves talking comic books. And so that's been a new segment that we've done the last couple of weeks where Nathan tries to explain comic books to his brother and I, which that can be really interesting because last week it was about Batman Wonder Woman and Superman riding on a flying Joker dragon.
Nice.
And that I'm still lost on that. But anyway, we talk about that once a week, and lots of other stuff. So pretty fun stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it is great to have you. And so we're recording this a couple days early, but this is actually going to be released. This is my 26th episode. Wow. So I've officially had the podcast for 6 months now, half a year. So that's number one. Number two, we're releasing this on Star Wars Day, May 4th. So may the 4th be with you. And
may the 4th be with you, everyone listening and watching. That's awesome.
Exactly. And, or may his grace be with you always.
Right.
You know. Right. So, and like your shirt, by the way, it's really
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. My Sam's girlfriend's dad bought it for me for Christmas. So
very cool.
So, yeah.
Well, so it's 26th episode. It's Star Wars Day, and it's the release day of The Bad Batch.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool day.
How excited are you about The Bad Batch?
I'm really excited. I was shocked thinking back to a year ago on May the 4th, it was the series finale for the Clone Wars. So it was season 7 of the Clone Wars. It was coming to the finale on May the 4th. That was actually the day that we launched our 10-episode Facebook Watch series that we did in conjunction with them. So it was a really big day. I would never have believed then that the most important episodes of season 7 of the Clone Wars would have been the first 4, the Bad Batch, but really they are. And so I think this is going to be a really exciting and interesting series.
I'm super excited about it. I was super surprised when in December we all found out about it in December that this was going to be released, and then they come back and say, oh yeah, it's coming out May 4th. And I was like, what in the world? That is so fast. How are they doing that? So I did actually find something that says technically it was ordered just about a year ago.
That's surprising because that is fast, even at a year ago. Because
even at a year ago, that's fast.
Clone Wars stuff, Rebel stuff, Star Wars Resistance, they were in production of each season 2.5 years before those seasons released. So
yeah.
I think the excitement regarding season 7 of the Clone Wars, I think the disappointment about Star Wars Resistance, and all of that coming together, and the success of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus really helped them kind of fast forward this into production, and it's going to be an interesting ride.
What do you think about Star Wars focusing on all of these quote unquote side characters, as this has kind of been the theme over the last year or so? They're kind of focusing on all these side characters and bringing them up to the forefront. What do you think about that?
I think they have to, because we already have as many stories as we possibly can about Luke and Leia and Han and Chewbacca, and we're getting more stories about Kenobi, but that's in a different timeline. I don't think that they want to go back to Rey and Finn and Poe and Ben or Kylo, whichever you prefer for that. I don't think they want to go there yet. They want to sort of let the sequel trilogy have some space because it was pretty controversial at times. So
no, really,
to say the least,
really,
as the biggest the Last Jedi apologist on the planet, I can actually say that so they have to do these side characters. And it's fun because then we get to see certain aspects of stories that we're already familiar with from these other perspectives. That was one of the beautiful things about the final arc of the Clone Wars, was we got to see Ahsoka and Rex and Maul play out Order 66. And that was so powerful. So now it's likely we're going to see that again, even with the Bad Batch and some of these other characters. They're bringing in Fennec Shand from The Mandalorian. Ming-Na Wen, who is animation royalty.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so happy that she's coming back to voice the character.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So we've got her. We've got Stephen Stanton, which a lot of people may not be familiar with Stephen's work. He is brilliant. He did so many different characters in the Clone Wars, but one of his primary character in the Clone Wars really was Tarkin, and he's going to be a part of this. And I'm telling you, he is a fantastic voice actor. He's actually playing two characters at the same time in Monsters at Work that's getting ready to come out on Disney Plus. And so I'm excited about him. We're getting I can't remember his name, but the gentleman that played Saw Gerrera in the Clone Wars.
Andrew.
Yeah, I can't remember. Kashino. Yeah, Andrew Kashino. He's going to be playing Saw Gerrera in this.
Should be good.
All of these characters that we have some connection with are now coming into the show, and we're going to see this period of time that we know about, but we haven't seen played out yet from these characters' perspective. So I'm excited about it.
So the other, we're talking about all those characters. One of the other ones that because I'm an IMDb guy, so I always go check. Anytime there's a new show, I go check out IMDb because you can find out all the secrets.
Right.
Well, but except Disney is really, really good at not putting quite enough information in their IMDb too early. But, so there's a voice actor, and he's been pretty prolific in the video game and animation area, named Nasir Dalal.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Nasir Dalal?
I'm not. I'm looking it up right now. You got me intrigued.
And they have not given him a name in IMDb. So he's going to, my guess is he's going to be some kind of surprise character. Maybe he's going to be the bad guy. We know Tarkin is going to be the one of the bad guys. That's kind of a given. I love
because he's such a great character.
But I'm wondering if Nasir may play the bad guy that really interacts that Tarkin is sending out. But I'm a little unclear as to what Disney is going with there. But that's an interesting thing. And he's super prolific, person. He Red Dead Redemption and, just a whole bunch of different things that he's been a part of. So you haven't heard any secret things about what he's going to be playing?
No, it's fun because we try to, for the most part, avoid the spoiler territory for the shows, because we didn't for a while, even on our own show, and got totally spoiled for stuff. And it made the conversations about the show less fun when we recorded our podcast, because we were like, okay, so, Rey and Ben kissed. Okay. And we didn't have the reaction. So we're trying to do that. But it's very possible he could be another bounty hunter. We know Fennec Shand is in there. She's this assassin sort of bounty hunter side.
True.
I'm curious to see. We're in this era where Boba Fett is a character that is coming into his own in this time period. And Dave Filoni had originally planned in the Clone Wars to have an entire bounty hunter arc that included Boba Fett getting the armor, getting the ding in the helmet, all of that. It would make a lot of sense for Dave to integrate that into this storyline to some extent. And
that
I could
would
see
be great to see
him playing like a Boba Fett or something like that. And it would tie in. It's classic Star Wars and Disney, because now they're ramping up Boba Fett conversation just in time for the book of Boba Fett coming out in December. So
yeah. And we've got Dee Baker coming back to
D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, Dee Bradley Baker doing the voices of the clones.
He should get paid like 27 salaries for this. Because
I know.
He plays every character in this.
No.
Yeah.
I know. I always thought as a voice actor is like, do I want to get paid by the episode or do I want to get paid by the word? Dee Bradley Baker better get paid by the word.
I wonder if he dreams in dialogue with himself, because that's all he does is sit around talking to himself all the time.
Well, tell me a little. Okay. So, pretend I don't know anything about Clone Wars or about the Bad Batch. What does somebody need to know going in? What should they know? What should they watch before this show before they go watch this show, tonight, because they're probably going to be at work right now.
Okay. Right. The Bad Batch. You have to. Well, I'm going to make the assumption that there's some familiarity with the Clone Wars for the person that's going to watch this. So you've got in the Clone Wars, you've got the clones who are all carbon copies of each other, and they try to become a little bit more individualistic. That's why you have Fives and Echo and Rex and Cody and some of these characters with it. But in the end, they all look the same, and they all have the same skill sets and the same genetic makeup. The Bad Batch are mutations of that original clone set that actually the Kaminoans, I always have a hard time saying that. Anyway, the cloners, they enhance, they encourage these mutations when they took place. And so they're very individual, in their nature. They all have very specific skill sets. You've got the leader in Hunter. You've got Wrecker, who's the big burly brawny guy. You've got Crosshairs, who's the sniper, and all of these different characters, Tech, who's the geek in the group. All of them have their own skill set and their own personality with it. Then you have to add in the fifth of the Bad Batch, which really comes into play in some Clone Wars episodes. So there's this character named Echo. Echo was a part of Domino Squad. Domino Squad is a really famous arc in the early seasons of the Clone Wars of these guys that weren't that great at being clones in their training. They weren't working together. Yeah. They all come together, and Echo is one of those. And he gets, you believe in spoiler alert for anybody that is planning on going back and watching the Clone Wars with it. He gets what you think is killed in season 3. And we find out in the first 4 episodes of season 7 of the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch arc of that he wasn't killed, that he was captured by the Separatists, by the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and the Tech Union, like, they made him a cyborg. And so the 4 episodes of the Bad Batch arc in season 7 of the Clone Wars are the story of the Bad Batch going to do a special mission led by Anakin Skywalker. And in that, they find Echo and they actually rescue Echo. And that's the rest of that storyline. And then you have to, he joins the Bad Batch. So there's connections going back all the way to some early Clone Wars stuff. And then we've got this weird group of guys that are not good at following orders, and that's what makes this really exciting.
What do you mean they're not good at following orders?
They think independently. They don't think like the other clones, including Echo now, and so they want to. They are all about going after completing the mission, but they're going to do it in their own way, and they don't necessarily care what their superiors or what the head of up to this point the Republic leadership have told them to do. They're all about just executing the orders as best as possible. So, and then you have to take into account that Echo, we know, has had his inhibitor chip, which is a big storyline from all of the Clone Wars. It's what creates the ability for the Emperor to execute Order 66 in the Revenge of the Sith. His has been removed. We know that from the Bad Batch arc. And it's never been 100% confirmed, but alluded to that the rest of the Bad Batch may not have these inhibitor chips as well. So that's
either that or they don't follow the orders.
Exactly. So, and we haven't seen that because that first arc of the season 7 of the Clone Wars took place well before we get to Order 66. So we haven't seen what happens with them.
Gotcha. Well, I think it is going to be a great show. I'm interested to see how they weave all this in and out. Do you think we're going to see other characters that we don't know about yet?
There's always going to be big reveal characters in any good Disney driven Star Wars content. So
who do you think we'll see?
I really do think we're going to get Boba Fett with that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. We're going to get Vader at some point in this. You're going to have him in there. I don't know if we get Kenobi. The Disney marketing machine side of my brain says it would make sense to tease some Kenobi for an episode or something. But I'm not 100% sure we're going to get that. I'd like to see Bail Organa. I'd like to see them develop that character further, and see and Mon Mothma, and see the real birth of the rebellion taking place, with that. And then the big one that would blow everybody's mind is if somehow in this process we get Grogu, we get the child, because the child exists at this point, and we don't know how he got out of the temple. Yes. And there was a theory when the Bad Batch was announced that they're going to be on Coruscant, possibly at the temple during Order 66, and they're going to rescue the child, and that would be a lot of fun. So
that would be fun, and I think that could be an interesting connection. I definitely, with the way they've been doing everything, it definitely needs to connect with the larger universe. They have been doing such a good job of doing that right now. I think it's definitely going to fit in really well. And, I think it would be a missed opportunity if they don't have some hint to that. Whether or not that's exactly how it plays out, right. But at least to hint at it somehow, we see them shove some, they shove a little green guy in an escape pod or something.
Yeah, they get him out of there or something. Exactly.
Do the Superman escape pod and send him out into space. Right.
There's a character, though, that I think a lot of people would be excited to see show up that I really hope they don't bring into this series, and that's Ahsoka. I think that it would damage the Bad Batch. We have a situation where Ahsoka became the most beloved character in the Clone Wars, and that was her show. You had the Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, where she's brought in season 2, and she dominates the conversation for a large portion of that series, even all the way to the end, with the World Between Worlds stuff in season 4. She's getting her own series, bringing her into The Mandalorian in that episode. So what ends up happening is because it would distract from the story. It would become Ahsoka's show again. And I think that would be a damage to Ahsoka's character because it would be an oversaturation of it. And I think it would do a disservice to the Bad Batch, which I think are really interesting characters.
Yeah, I could see that. She could definitely overshadow the quote unquote minor characters that are supposed to be the focus of the entire series.
Yeah. And the same thing could happen if they brought in Maul. Maul seems to be sort of the dark side version of Ahsoka. He shows up everywhere, because he's such a popular character. They brought him in Clone Wars. They brought him in Rebels. They brought him in Solo, with that. And, there's a little more reason to bring him in this. He's the establishment of Crimson Dawn, that's taking place at this time. So it might work better to bring him in, but they have to be very, very careful about that because you don't want these other characters overshadowing.
You think we'll see Rex?
Oh, it's been confirmed. In fact, we see him in the trailer.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
He was in the trailer?
He's in the back. Yeah, there's a battle sequence where it's very clear that that's Rex in there. And so, yeah, absolutely, we're going to see Rex. And so what we could likely see with Rex is him connect with Hunter and Wolf. Not Hunter and Wolf. Wolf and I can't remember the name of the other clone from Rebels that he goes off into exile with. And so it's very possible we see that. The challenge I have is if you bring in Rex, then Rex seems to always be tied to Ahsoka, and so that creates that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do one thing, you have to do these other 5 things, or everybody's disappointed.
Right.
What's the one thing that if they don't do, you would be disappointed about?
Oh, absolutely. Seeing Order 66 from their perspective. We've seen it in Revenge of the Sith, which is classic. And then we got a very unique perspective on it from a Jedi I am no Jedi is what she says. She's probably more of a Jedi than any of the other Jedi at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah,
she follows the truth of the Jedi code better than anybody. And we did a whole episode on that about a year ago. But anyway, I want to see these 5 clones have a conscience and realize that the Jedi are good, or at least they don't deserve this execution, and so rebel against that, which goes back to that think for themselves stuff, and that's what flips the script in this, and really is the catalyst for the entire show, is them on the run now from Tarkin and the rest of the new Empire.
Yeah.
There's this other element in the comic books, which we're not sure how they're going to tie in, but you've got Clone Force 99, and then you've got, it's the Stormtroopers. There's a Force 99 in the comic books, with it. And they're very different. They're different characters. You could tell that. Mm-hmm. So is this a group of Stormtroopers that are organized in a attempt to hunt down Clone Force 99 or the Bad Batch, which would be a really interesting story, and I'd love to see that as well.
That would be great. Well, I think the big thing here is going to be, how they're going to make this story arc work. Right now, it looks like there's going to be 14 episodes.
Okay.
And from what I hear, the first episode is going to be over an hour long.
It was announced originally at being 70 minutes, and this week it came out at 75. So that's in an animated world, that's a film.
I know. Yeah, I was going to say, coming out of a film world, if it had 5 more minutes, technically it's a feature.
Yeah.
You only have to have 80 minutes to be a feature. So, that's going to be a long animated show. And it does look like it's going to be very, very high paced. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of, character development throughout the series. I really do hope I hope it doesn't turn into a Monster of the Week kind of show. You know,
which somewhat happens with The Mandalorian in a few arcs, with it, where they're bringing in another character, or a monster, a bad guy, that kind of thing. It's too serialized in that.
Yeah. Way. Yeah. I hope that it is an overarching story arc that really makes sense as one cohesive show versus I can sit down and watch this episode and nothing else will matter before it or after it. You know, I think that's a kind of a cheap way to do it when we know you have the capability. Filoni has the capability to weave these huge story arcs together. There's no reason for them not to do it. I think that would be the most disappointing thing for me.
Yeah. And the challenge is, I'm not sure. I mean, we know that this is part of the Filoni-verse, and that type of thing, but we aren't sure how direct of a role Dave is playing in this production. I mean, he's executive producer, we know that, but I'm not sure he's writing like he did on Clone Wars and on Rebels, and crafting it to the same level that he is. So it'll be curious. It looks like Clone Wars. It's in the trailer. It feels like Clone Wars.
Right.
That is the baby of Dave Filoni. So I'm hoping that Dave is allowing the story to be a broader story. The challenge, though, is even Clone Wars doesn't do that. Clone Wars has shorter arcs, 3-4 episode storylines, for the most part. So we'll just have to wait and see if there's sort of this thread that floats between all of them, like happened in Rebels. That's one of the things that was unique about that, was you'd have these little mini arcs, but then when you got to the final couple episodes of Star Wars Rebels, you have things like Purgles, which you thought were filler episodes from season 2. Showing up and literally saving the day. And we were sitting there just minds blown, everybody freaking out about how
about space whales.
Space whales saved the day. It was awesome. I've never yelled so hard when the space whales showed up.
Space whales are a running gag on my other show.
Yeah. It's awesome. Honestly, that he did that. It was sort of a thumbing his nose at all the fans that criticized those episodes. It's like he's like, yeah, you didn't like that episode with the Fergals? All right, I'm going to make them the solution to the galaxy right now.
So, I don't know. Have you heard, or do you think this will be an ongoing series? Do you think we're going to get a series, a season 2, or do you think this will be a one and done?
I think it will be a continuing series. I think that they'll end up doing a similar thing as they did with Rebels, where they go probably 3 or 4 seasons with it, and try to bridge the gap. And so it would be, if the gap isn't necessarily to Rebels. Rebels takes place starting about 5 years before A New Hope. So we've got about a 14, 15 year period right now that we haven't explored. My guess is they're going to bridge a lot towards Kenobi and towards Solo, maybe even bringing in some Crimson Dawn stuff. I know I said I don't want them all in there, but I do have a feeling that Crimson Dawn is going to have a role in the Kenobi series. So
that would make sense.
And so you've got to help establish that. And just remember that at the end of season 7 of the Clone Wars, there's a sequence where you see Maul talking to some of the other leaders in Crimson Dawn, and Dryden Voss is one of those. And so, so I think that would be sort of the mad genius Filoni figuring out how to tie some of that together.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Kenobi series. Mm-hmm. There is an Ahsoka series coming up as well. So, I mean, as much as you said you would be disappointed if she becomes a major player in the show, I feel like probably she's going to at least to be in there just to tease the fact that, hey, don't forget we've got, cause Disney they are the marketing.
Absolutely.
They're marketing is what they do.
Right.
They don't make shows. They make marketing.
Right. Absolutely true.
Everything they do is selling the next thing that's coming out. So, I definitely think we're if we don't see her, we'll definitely see hints of her, so that you remind us that, hey, don't forget Ahsoka's coming.
Yeah, it just comes back to if they bring her in for even a tiny cameo in one episode, then the speculation about Ahsoka coming back into the series starts to take over the whole series.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Rex is the key to that. If Rex and his relationship with Ahsoka, we don't know how Ahsoka knows where Rex is in Rebels, the planet that he's gone into exile with. So that might be a part of that, is where they have some type of communication. We also know that at this time period, Ahsoka is Fulcrum, and becoming the first Fulcrum in this group of sort of secret spies behind the scenes. And she has a connection with Bail Organa. So you could have some connections in there with it. It's just they have to be very, very careful about making the same thing happen in this that happened in Rebels.
Yeah. Don't make it the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely am right there with you. I think it's going to be great. Any other thoughts about the show?
I think the big thing we haven't talked about is Omega. And that is the kid in the trailers.
Yes.
On Camino.
Yes.
Which is a really interesting bit of, theorization that's going on about that. So when that trailer first dropped 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, lots of people were taking pictures of Senator Palpatine from The Phantom Menace and laying them next to this child on Camino that could be a clone at this point, and showing sort of hairline and wavy hair in the back. And, we're Star Wars fans, so we're nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got to find ways to connect things that aren't there, because George Lucas was smart enough to change his mind and make Luke Skywalker's dad Darth Vader. So since then, everything is connected. And so there's a lot of theories that this child is actually Rey's dad at this point. And so, Palpatine was trying to clone himself. They have a clone that doesn't seem to fit within the mix. He ends up getting married and having a child, and that gets to Rey. So there was all these, threads that were connecting in. What's interesting is the German subtitles of the trailer lists that character as being female. With that. So that changes the dynamic completely with that. So we don't know why they go to Camino. They're clones. We know that. So there's a connection there, but they're on Camino again. We don't know if they're sent there by Tarkin or if they choose to go there themselves. But when they get there, they're going to come into this child. Kevin Kiner, who composes all the music for the Rebels and Clone Wars and everything, he's just an unbelievably gifted composer, was on another podcast full of Sith a couple of weeks ago. And he says that there's a new character coming into this show that is just going to grab everybody's attention. And it's going to be the only thing people are talking about, and you can't wait to see it. So a lot of people have speculated that it's this Omega character, but we don't know.
That sounds amazing. I am super excited about it. I will definitely be spending 75 minutes this evening watching that show. I say this evening, we're recording a couple days ahead.
Well, I'm going to be on an airplane while this airs, or while this goes out, coming back from Texas, and I plan on having it downloaded and watching it for the entire flight. So. There you
go. Well, hey, David, it's been great having you on the show today. Anything else you want to tell us before we go?
Yeah, I mean, just check out Tatooine Sons. You can go to TatooineSons.com or just look up Tatooine Sons, SONS, on your podcast apps. And we'd love for you guys to check out the show and subscribe to that. Follow us on social. It's all the same, at Tatooine Sons, on all of that. I've got another podcast that's a little bit on hiatus because we're moving right now. The Bible Nerd Show, which we kind of look at the Bible in its historic, geographic, religious, and cultural context. It's a little short episodes, 15 to 20 minutes at most, that we're doing. So that's something that you can check out. It should start up in mid-May again, depending on whether or not I actually get into my house. And then, as far as other passions of mine, check out a ministry that helps children that are in extreme poverty called One Child. There's 400 million children alive today who live on less than $2 a day to survive. And these child champions at One Child, they come alongside kids all around the world, and they provide food, medicine, and education and social development and everything to help them get hope. We bring hope to hard places. And so there's nothing more Star Wars-esque than hope. So
exactly.
So check out onechild.org if you want to learn more about that.
Great to hear it. Hey, David, once again, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Definitely going to have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us on, Ricky, and may the force be with you guys.
And with you.
All right. Pretty cool.
Yeah, good. Gotta love Ricky.
Ricky's, first of all, a lot of fun. When we finished and he turned off the recorder, the first thing he said was, "You know a lot more about Star Wars than I do." And I said, well, that's my job. So, it was a lot of fun. I can't believe that he forgot about Omega. And I had to bring Omega up. We had all this conversation for like 30 minutes about the Bad Batch. And I kept waiting for the Omega conversation to kick in.
And it
never happened. And so finally he's like, well, is there anything else you want to say about the Bad Batch? And I'm like, yeah, there's like this major character that we don't know who it is. So so maybe Nate was informing me earlier, Sam, that's your name, right?
Yeah, my name's Sam.
You're Sam. That Dave Filoni is supposed to be guesting on Good Morning America
on May the 4th.
Mm-hmm. He hopes it's going to be like a Rebel sequel announcement. Do you think
No, it's just going to be talking about the Bad Batch and his success in Star Wars and how he's basically the new George Lucas.
It is Dave Filoni's world, and we are all just living in it.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to Star Wars right now. That's pretty awesome. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, so there were some set photos that were released that reveal a comic-accurate suit for Ms. Marvel.
Well, that's an interesting
It's looking pretty good.
Looks a lot like the Marvel's Avengers game suit.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we got some The Flash film had some set photos revealed that reveal Wayne Manor from the 1989 Batman movie.
Ooh.
And people are like, I hope for the next couple of days some people can snatch some pictures of Michael Keaton's Batman.
There we go.
Do you think we'll see him fully in his Batman garb, or we'll just see him as Bruce Wayne?
Yes.
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne?
Bruce Wayne. Concept art of him in his suit. So.
Nice. That's awesome. This one's kind of big if you're a Star Wars fan. Darth Vader 11, the comic book series, reveals that the Emperor has Luke Skywalker's severed hand in his cloning laboratory. In the Legends universe, this is where you get clone Luke.
Right.
Yes.
Luke Skywalker or something like that. Yeah. So, do you think...
Is it L-O-K-E?
No, it's L-U-U-K-E, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think that we're going to see that type of storyline at some point in Star Wars going forward?
Maybe in a comic.
I kind of don't want them to keep doing the same thing they've been doing for years. Introducing things and then adding it into every other story. I mean, they've been doing that a lot, like with High Republic. I mean, now we're having the Nihil in Dr. Aphra. But they weren't even mentioned in any of the other stuff. It kind of just feels like Star Wars is retconning just everything. It's weird.
Yeah, no, we'll just have to wait and see. But that's going to do it for this week. It's a shorter show, but that's okay because we're homeless. Pray that we get into our house, and then we'll hopefully be able to get the studio set up and record our normal episode next Friday. But we'll do something. We'll do our best to record next week. But thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons as Pop Culture. I almost said it wrong.
You almost did it.
I did it. A pop culture podcast.
And if you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends, and hopefully they can help us with getting luck with the house.
Yeah, they can pray for us.
Yeah. Yes. And of course, this show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so make sure to go on all your social medias and like us, follow us on Facebook and Twitter to get in on all the action, and to stay updated on the latest pop culture news, go to TatooineSons.com.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss an episode, and drop us a review on whichever podcast service that you listen to us on.
Oxygen.
That means a lot, man. That one this came in this week that said that this teacher said that her middle school students fall in love with our show and listen to it all the time. I'm like, all right, yeah, we can do another episode this week with that. So that was pretty cool. Thank you so much for that. Make sure that you join us next week where, God willing, we'll break down the premiere of The Bad Batch and maybe talk about some other stuff. I don't know. Is there some Justice Society movie that came out?
I did. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to do that. Is there anything else that you guys want to say?
This party's over.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.
Yep, yep.